Hey everybody, Jason Carter here, Adam Bronson, John Peterson, all part of the Epic Outdoors crew. Of course, we work with Chris Peterson as well, John's brother. He's awesome. He's filming all this, and he's responsible for all the digital portion of all this. And, of course, Jeff John. A lot of guys have dealt with Jeff John over the last year or so, finding hunts. Jeff deals with our outfitters and manages openings and helps guys find hunts. So, anyway, super appreciative of him as well. As we get started here, we just kind of wanted to introduce ourselves, tell you a little bit about what we do as far as the license application portion of our business. So here at Epic Outdoors, we do a lot of different things. We do a magazine, covers all the states, breaks them down in relation to Western big game hunts, as well as we have hunts for sale with guaranteed tags, whether it be landowner tags or other private land avenues to be able to obtain tags and hunt on properties. And we work with a lot of outfitters on the draws as well. So if you draw tags, we work with outfitters and, of course, want to help you obtain some of the best hunts with some of the best outfitters in the West, Canada, Alaska, Mexico. So anyway, but today we want to visit about our license application business portion of Epic Outdoors and kind of go over some different things and kind of tell you about us and how we do it.
Yeah, I think we also want to talk about just drawing tags in general. You know, it's a lot different in the West than it is in the East. A lot of times it's easier to get tags in the East. Here out West, you've got to have a strategy. You've got to look at multiple states and in order to go on good hunts every year.
Yeah, you can hunt general deer, general elk, maybe a few antelope here and there on an over-the-counter or general season tag you can get every year. But for the most part, if you want a trophy-type hunt, for deer and elk and antelope, you gotta pay some dues. You can get lucky. Every state draw system's different. That's our job to break that down. How their state system works, if they give a percentage to bonus points, applicants versus random, all those types of things. But you do have to develop a strategy, and some of those are short-term, mid-term, and long-term plans. If you want to hunt sheep someday, you better not get in a hurry.
That's a long-term strategy. In fact, some guys might even argue it's a 40-year strategy. Adam and I like to think it's more like a 20-year strategy. Give us some hope.
Yeah.
And, of course, we've been the benefactor and have been able to draw some tags that were surprises, such as Oregon. We both drew Oregon. I don't remember what your drawing odds were.
Yeah, one in 215 or something
Mine
like
were
that.
like 1 in 409. So, anyway, beat the odds. Of course, Oregon for sheep doesn't have a point system. And so it was just luck of the draw. Not didn't have the ability to gain points and have a better drawing odds as the years went along. It was just straight 1 in 409, 1 in 200 and something. So anyway, we beat the odds on that and just proven to ourselves as well as others that people do draw tags. This year, like every other year, our license application guys drew a lot of awesome tags. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's fun when you get to apply some of those guys and they draw. It's as if you drew a little bit. You get to celebrate.
You can't beat Adam to the phone. Adam can't wait. It's a little like Santa Claus. You're telling guys what they got, and it's one of those things where we feel like we drew it ourselves because we're going through the motion for these guys that are busy in their everyday schedule, and we actually choose most people's units and analyze the odds and look at their hunting schedules and try to apply them for hunts that they can go on. And so then when the draw results come out, it's awesome to us too. Like it's one of those things that, it's kind of a little perk on our side to be able to, help guys draw tags and feel like we were an integral part of that process.
Well, and the reason I think why we can do that is we do it ourselves and have for decades. And so when we do have some of those experiences happen like that, you've been dealing with some of these guys for years, and whether they're 75 and they finally draw their desert sheep tag and they're going to finish their Grand Slam, or they finally draw a long way to mule deer hunt that they think they can finally hunt a 200-inch deer, it's all part of their personal strategy that we've been able to help them accomplish. And, they've entrusted us with, our level of expertise to help make it happen. It's our job to understand their needs and wants and match that with available units in different states they should be doing. A lot of these guys, maybe they've accumulated points prior to having us do their applications, so they're trusting us with a lot of portfolio with what they've accumulated. It's these points are like gold. They're like money. They really are. Sometimes you're talking
to get to 10 points.
Yeah,
in some of these
you're
states.
talking, when it came to time mule deer, $10,000 to $20,000 tags or $30,000.
Yeah.
Henry Mountains, $80,000 or $100,000
Yeah.
tags.
If you can buy your way
you
in.
can
Some
buy.
of these you can't buy your way in.
That's right. So, and sheep tags, you're talking in some of these states, you're equivalent $75,000 to $150,000 if you were to go buy that same tag at a, Wild Sheep Foundation auction or something like that. So
and 20 plus years of trying to draw that tag, leading up to that.
That's right. So it's something we take very seriously here, both for ourselves and also the clients that entrust us to use their applications. So, but like we said, the first thing you got to do is develop a personal hunting strategy. You have to have something in mind of what you want. A lot of people, if they don't live out west, they have a dream of wanting to come out here. They want to hunt elk. They want to hunt archery elk. Whatever you do, we start off with, trying to offer them, break down what's important to you right now. Maybe nothing is. Sometimes it's, hey, just build me points for now, realizing that no state makes your points species or unit specific or weapon specific. You just accumulate points. But for the other, the majority of our guys, they're trying to draw tags every year. They're not just, hey, build me points. And so we have an interview with them at least once a year, but as many times a year as we need to go over their schedule, their plans, what they have booked already, what windows of time they need to block off for, weddings or family trips or whatever, just like we do in our own lives. When we get to January or the first of the year, we all evaluate our own points and things where we're sitting. Right? We kind of pencil off a couple of units, Jason, I mean, you've drawn desert sheep in Utah. You pretty much knew when you're about to draw. Like me and my elk, you and your Arizona deer. There's certain states with the way their draw system works that you can start your annual plan on those.
That's right. Yeah, just like Adam's saying, it's quite a process to get it all figured out and to figure out what to do. And we all want to hunt this year, and we all want to hunt next year, and then we want to hunt, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And so how are we going to get to that point? And so like Adam's talking about, there are general season tags you can hunt every year over the counter. And a lot of you guys out there maybe from the East Coast and have started hunting the West by going to Colorado over the counter for elk. And there's a lot of guys that do that, and they enjoy that every year. While they're doing that, that's a hunt. Great. Got that one checked off. I always go October 21st to the 29th on the 2nd or whatever season you choose. Get that over the counter. So block that out. Let us know, and then I can go every other month other than this time frame. Or you might have your whitetail hunts that you like to do in the rut with over-the-counter tags back east. Great. We block out November. I can't draw November. No problem. As we go through your portfolio and go through all the different applications that we apply you for, we do not apply you for November. And some guys know they get landowner tags. They might come on a CWMU here in Utah with an outfitter that we recommended or whatnot, and so we know you're busy in September. And so we tailor your applications to you and your hunting schedule every single year. Adam and I especially, we have John and Chris and other guys that visit with some clients as well. But Adam and I usually deal with 95% of all the applications and all the hunt strategies for all the different clients of ours. And we take pride in that. That is something that we feel like we're good at. We've been doing it for 20 plus years for ourselves as well as other clients. And so we're well versed in how each state's system works. And we work on the drawing odds. Of course, we write it for the Epic magazine. So it's one of those things like we're doing it no matter what. If we didn't have a licensed app service, we're still crunching all the data. And so we feel like it's something we basically, for the first 6 months of the year, maybe even 1 month, December of the prior year, work on and are crunching data for a living, sometimes 16 hours a day, each of us, and crushing it for our magazine. And so we're well versed in what's out there, the availability on different things, is whether it be general season tags or landowner tags with outfitters that we work with, or maybe it be draw tags like Adam's alluding to. And there's a lot of the best opportunities to hunt out there for the average guy is through the draw process.
Yeah, and you can't beat having that type of experience. I never put in an application for myself without running it past you two. It's just, a resource that I have, and any of our members have that resource as well to be able to do. But you guys are up on the latest changes, everything. If there's something that I might be interested in, you'll say, hey, John, what about this unit? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. And Adam and I do it to each other. A lot of times our offices are side by side, and there's just things. What about this or what about that? And this is what we live for. This is all we do. Whether it be even on our time off, which we don't clock in because we own the place, but even on our time off, we're thinking about strategy and how to get a tag for a 200-inch deer, or the opportunity to hunt a 200-inch deer, the opportunity for 350-plus bulls. And Adam, case in point, has drawn a tag this year for Arizona on a unit that he roughly knew he was going to draw because we analyzed the odds so heavy, and it's a unit we know there's some giants, maybe even the biggest bull in the state of Arizona. So there's just awesome opportunities out there for roughly 15 years worth of points.
Yeah. And that brings us to that planning type phase. There are some states that are predictable because of their point system. Some are strictly random. Even if they give points, it's just another name in the hat. But there's other states like Arizona, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado that give either a portion, or in Colorado's case for deer and elk, all their tags to the people with the most points. So maybe I'll ask you in a minute, Jason, but that's usually what I first look at when I go into my application year. We're usually looking ahead to a year or two in advance sometimes, knowing what season dates are going to do in a certain unit, like Colorado deer dates, or in this case, Arizona. I knew the elk was going to shift a week later, all the archery dates.
And we look at the moon phase like you did.
The moon phase is good. None of that can hurt you. So I kind of had it circled, and I knew I probably would have enough points this year, and why not wait? I could have maybe drawn it last year. Wait one more year, have the hunt sink 6 days later. Yeah. That's probably going to hopefully pay off. So usually I analyze the ones that I think I could be guaranteed or very close to, that I have to then plan around everything else, because those are hunts that I've usually waited a lot of years to draw, 15 years for an elk. Jason, I believe when you drew your desert sheep tag, it was 16, 18 points back then was max or whatever. Yeah. I'm up to 21 now in Utah. I know that's another one I have to plan around, because that may be my only desert sheep in my life, and I don't want to draw it in a year that I've got a bunch of other things going, and I'm turning tags back in, and I'm not doing it justice or whatever.
Well, and there has been years when you've had a 50% draw on that, and you lost the coin toss.
Yeah.
And so there's
times
I
have a wide open schedule because I planned on drawing it.
But you planned on it, and you're like, ooh, and then you didn't draw. And there are some of those times when you cannot predict, who's going to cross over.
Yeah.
So you can kind of say, okay, when there's only a few tags there, it only takes 3 or 4 or 5 applicants to cross over, and then your odds are a mess. But generally speaking, in a lot of cases, especially we love Colorado for this reason, is that you can tell when you're going to get drawn. You can't on the sheep, goat, and moose. You cannot. I mean, that's more of a random draw, even though the points help you. But deer, elk, antelope, you can look at those odds and you can predict.
If you've got a Grundle points in those units, like 18 to 20, you're in the more of the driver's seat. But if you're in no man's land, just apply. But that's usually how we approach it. And so obviously, if you're just looking at applying in the West for the first time, some of those things don't really apply to how you're going to develop either strategy for 2017 or 18, because you're not in the driver's seat with a bunch of points. But if you do have points spread out, and we're not talking some states like Colorado, 2-3 points, you've got a guaranteed deer tag if you want it in certain units. It doesn't take 10 or 15. We gave that example because I was simply holding out for something that I wanted, and it took me that long. But there's other units in other states. General elk in Wyoming. You want to go every other year? You can go hunt every other year.
And the same thing with some of those late season bull hunts in Arizona. Even though you waited 15 years,
I could have went twice or 3 times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Some of those late seasons are 7, 8, 9 points. And so if you want to go hunting, you can go hunting. And that's the one thing about the West. It is scary for a lot of people, even residents of the West, even people that live here in the West, because it's very complicated, and every state's different. But that's what we love about it. I love knowing that Colorado, I can plan on a few things, and then I love the randomness
of New Mexico.
I love the randomness in New Mexico, and I don't want them to go to a point system. And then Idaho, I love the randomness in Idaho and forcing you to choose sheep, goat, or moose. And if you do one of those, you can't do deer, elk, and antelope. I love that. It's cool. It's different.
I like the variety too.
And yet we get to work on the point squared system in Nevada. Although I hate it because it feels like it's so hard to draw. Yeah. And all 5 choices count in Nevada. And so we're thinking about those things nonstop. It makes a big difference on you know, what the state looks at when they're actually pulling applications, and it makes a big difference on our choices.
So I know, Jason, in some of we've talked about some of the guaranteed tags like this elk I drew. You've had some of those experiences in the past, and so some of them you still are very top heavy on. Others, you're back in the draw, and your philosophy of changing, or your strategies probably changes.
It changes,
Once you
yeah.
burn your points, you have a different mindset. You're not protecting 15 or 20, elk points in a state.
Yeah.
You want to go back more often, probably the second or third go around. So,
Well,
how,
and we
how
can,
do you look
well,
at it? Your first,
I
first of
can't
the year.
decide, I can't decide. You know, there's a couple ways to go through this podcast and YouTube episodes that we're doing here, but we could either go through the states alphabetically and kind of crank what our thoughts are in each state, or we could just go through what we're thinking and what we do, you know, species by species. What
Let's
do
do
you think,
both
John?
a little bit. Let's start with the states and just
Kinda
go and
crank through the
overview a
states.
little bit through the states.
Okay, well, for starters, let's just talk Arizona. I've drawn my deer in Arizona, had max points. It was 2007. And so by Adam and I analyzed it. John was probably in on it because, you know, John and I have been, you know, in business together and working together for many,
Forever.
many years, as well as Chris. And Chris is our videographer and is all a part of that as well. But anyway, we knew I was going to draw. It was one of those
Pretty
things.
much.
Adam and I, you know, analyzed the odds, and I didn't hunt the traditional Arizona 13A, 13B like everybody was doing. I wanted to draw, but I didn't want to compete out there. And so anyway, ended up, you know, there was a big pair of sheds found, and I had max points, and it was
Switched
big
units.
pair meaning 300 inches,
Yeah.
kind of big.
Solid.
And so
That'll work.
Good solid buck, probably in his prime. Anyway, ended up applying for that unit, which was 12B. And not that 12B does not hold a candle to 13B. I totally understand that, but I was after one deer. And Adam was in on it. He arranged his vacation, so to speak. Of course, he was working with us at the time, and adjusted the hunts that he was guiding and going on personally to accompany me on that hunt, because that's a once in a lifetime type opportunity, much like his will be here in the near future when he draws. So
Yeah.
anyway, went out there, couldn't find that deer. We went out and killed another big deer that we didn't know about. But case in point on that is being able to capitalize, having the points to capitalize on an opportunity when it comes available. I had max points, and then with a big deer set of sheds is found, I can draw that tag. And I think that's kind of part of this. Sometimes we go through our application strategies, and maybe we don't know why I've got 16 antelope points in Colorado. Not a huge fan of hunting antelope. Okay, they're okay. I've killed a few. I like them. Adam's killed a giant. Now he's kind of addicted to them. But
Anything big's all right, you know.
But having said that, I'm going to keep gaining points just because I never know. And then maybe there's some big buck found, or maybe there's a great opportunity on a ranch, and I know I can get that tag. And so for a little bit of a minimal non-refundable fee each year, I can gain points and know that I've got to hunt someday down the road. And so with Arizona, I've drawn an early rifle tag for elk, clear back in 2000 in Unit 1, and then I gained up my points again, another 15 years worth of points. I drew Unit 1 archery and had a great hunt, killed a 355 bull, killed a 367 the first time I drew it back in year 2000. So great opportunities there. We continue to gain points. I continue to gain points as well as you guys for the sheep there.
We've not drawn any sheep tags. You know, like I said, I burned my elk points this year. Be my first go around on a big bull down there, so I'm looking forward to that. I got totally lucky last year, just for the simple. It used to be $7.50, now $15 for each species. Added antelope probably 8 or 10 years ago. You know, just because I'm buying the license, I might as well do it. Lightning struck. I drew Unit 10
and it literally
last year.
struck. You know, antelope may seem easy to draw in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Arizona, it's like drawing a sheep tag. They're extremely tough to draw.
That's right. So just totally got lucky. It was an afterthought. You know, I've hunted antelope a few times in my life, like yourself. They're fun. I don't base my whole fall around them.
Right.
But when I drew that one, it was in a time I had nothing going on. And hey, if you're gonna hunt a big antelope, Arizona's a good place to throw your name in the hat.
Killed
so
an
to speak.
average
So,
87
yeah,
incher.
it was awesome. It was fun. So, but Arizona in general would probably summarize as probably, even though there's a lot of opportunity over-the-counter archery all day. It's
And
more
I drew
of a
coos deer.
yeah. You've
You
drawn
know,
coos.
after my big deer tag,
Yeah.
then I know I'm not going to draw the strip again, and so I did coos deer and drew coos deer. Now I'm going to do an archery deer, and so There's other tags,
Yeah.
not just 2 units in the state, 13A and 13B.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other tags and plenty of other opportunity with 10 and less points.
That's right. So both ends of the spectrum, extreme trophy quality and a lot of opportunity. You just got to be realistic in Arizona, and it's an expensive state, $160 license, and then $15 per species, all online.
Generally speaking, other than my Coos deer and Adam's elk this year, you can't plan on those, but there's a couple you can plan on, and I planned on my Coos deer. I analyzed the odds, knew I was going to draw. Adam knew he was going to draw his elk, or at least have a 50% chance or better, depending on who crossed over.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
I did want to make a point. You said on that Arizona deer, you knew that a shed was found.
yeah,
Well, our license app clients, they can take advantage of that because it's not just once, every 10 years that you hear about something like that. You and Adam are taking 50 calls a day.
yeah.
There's stuff that comes across your desk that the general public doesn't know.
Well, there are things, and Adam and I do, and that's a very good point, John. Adam and I do hear about X amount of 200-inch deer killed in 22 of Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay, not being in this business, or if we were just out on the streets, we wouldn't hear about these. We don't have people calling and telling us this. Oh, and by the way, here's live pictures of this and this and this and this, and so we get to learn a lot. And then, as a result, I think it does make a difference on where we're applying guys in our knowledge base,
That's right.
and staying up to date. Like these things.
Over 15 years of when I started applying for this elk tag, I wasn't applying for the same unit I ended up drawing.
No, you weren't.
And
you were
probably
doing
bounced
unit 10,
around.
Unit 9.
Just
I
like
bounced
you.
around.
You played for 15 years on 13B and A, and then moisture or set of sheds, boom, you move and drew that year. It was totally different.
And feed in your unit, all kinds of things change, and all of a sudden, units that weren't good years ago are now crazy. Gunnison gets killed off by winter or whatever. Things are evolving and changing nonstop. The strip will always have good deer. Okay, you don't need to pay us $100 to learn that.
Yeah.
I'll just
or
tell
Henry
it to
Mountains in
you.
Utah. Yeah.
Henry Mountains, Utah. It's a pretty good unit. But having said that, the Oak Creeks come on all of a sudden heavy.
Yeah.
Boom! Here we kill a 230-inch deer, 220s. 210s,
Yeah.
tons of good bucks for very few tags offered. Percentage-wise, the Oak Creeks probably did better than the Henrys.
On numbers tags.
And, percentage-wise. And so there's cool things.
But if we know somebody's got those points or they're coming up on that,
you could draw the Oak
switch
Creeks
them and
way
take it.
easier
then we
than
switch
Henrys.
you or we know,
that's right.
he's going to draw. But
And
we know that there's a unit that something special is going on, or we hear a tip.
And keep in mind, our members and license app guys and our members of the magazine, we take as much pride as they do in them drawing tags. They might not feel it. It's them personally. But we do, because we get the stories, the photos, and the accolades of doing a good job.
And really, they're not hiring us to just get my applications in. I mean, that's part of it. They're hiring us, draw me the tags I'm after. That's really what they are.
Yeah.
So we're not just filing applications and getting them in so we don't miss the deadline, and just build them the points, and then we'll do it again next year and all that. None of us do it for that reason. It's expensive to play the game in all these states. The goal is to get drawn on the tags that fit my criteria, your criteria, or our clients. That's really the goal.
Well, and a lot of it is we look at it as if we were that person. So we go through our notes. We make copious notes every time they call in. We've got all that. And then we're looking at it, okay, this guy is a mule deer lover. He's killed 4 over 200. Probably not going to apply him for average units.
Yeah,
and
doesn't
he's
need a
okay not to
175
draw.
or 80 buck,
Yeah.
and he'll eat a tag and go home.
Right. Now, even though, our personal, position and where we're at in the application strategy might be different than that guy, we put ourselves in his shoes.
And every year it can be different. If you book a moose, a couple years ago we went moose hunting with Jarrett Dooling. That shoot away 2 weeks in September.
Yeah.
I did points only for elk in Arizona that year because I didn't want to draw that the same year
No.
I had that. So every year is different based on what you have going.
And some states don't allow you to do points only, so you do a hardest to draw application strategy, hoping you don't draw because you're doing a dueling moose hunt. And so there's a lot of that goes on. You might not do elk in New Mexico when you go on dueling because there's no points.
There's no points. You can sit
So
out
why-
Idaho and New
Yeah, sit
Mexico. Good draw states like you've alluded. It makes you feel good because you have as good of odds coming in the first year as somebody been playing the game for 20.
Yeah.
But having said that, they're the first ones you sit out if you have a too busy schedule this year and don't want to draw tags because or go like you said for the hardest to draw only. Let lightning strike and make it work out if you do draw.
So that brings us to, California technically. Yeah. Although we don't do a lot of applications in California for ourselves, there's some members that live in California that like to do it, and there's non-residents that are willing to spend those extra dollars and they feel like they have that expendable income to go ahead and and go for the 1 in 5,000, whatever the odds might end up being. The way their tag allocation system is working for non-residents, it's a tough one for non-residents to justify doing. And so we're honest with guys. You could save your money and not apply for California. Even though maybe it's better for us each year, we actually want what's best for the client. We're not looking to get every nickel and dime out of them. We want to apply them in states that are actually worth doing.
And sometimes we'll tell them, not that everybody should apply in the states we do. And I tell that guys often, hey, I don't do it, Jason doesn't do it. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, but if that gives you perspective on whether we should do California, we don't think it's a can't miss one if you're not already at max points or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we're realist, to throw $200 away, if somebody in California, unless they absolutely need a desert sheep and they're going to do every single desert sheep, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to talk a guy out of that, but to try to draw a great deer tag or an elk tag as a non-resident, there is harder to justify.
Well, and like you're talking desert sheep in California, basically 10% are allocated to non-residents. Up to one,
might sometimes two, maybe. I'll go to residents.
So that's where we're talking about it being, one elk in the entire state of California could go to a non-resident.
Could be
and
a
if
cow.
that's a cow elk, that's done. We met our quota as non-residents.
One antelope, up to.
Up to one antelope. One. Okay. So how tough is that? It's a very interesting dynamic when you're talking places like California. However, we have a lot of California residents that have us do their applications.
They're in a totally different ballgame. They're in the 90% or pool. They're in for all the tags.
It's just our job to let you know of those opportunities and what's worth it and what's not. So that kind of does bring us to Colorado. Even though we've talked about Colorado already, I know Adam and I we work really aggressive on the sheep, goat, and moose.
Yep.
Of course, deserts, the point system doesn't work for deserts, and you kind of got to choose. You can't do them both, and so Adam and I do the Rockies.
We do Rockies. I've got a bunch of points. Hope to draw there one day. I know you do goats as well. I've got lucky in drawing a goat in Montana, so I never started in Colorado. Those odds are generally for sheep, moose, and goat in Colorado some of the best in the West. That's really are. They make you front the full permit fee, $2,200. It has been all up front.
Yep.
2018, they've told us they're going to allow online. We're assuming they're going to make you pay the full permit fee on a card.
We'll see.
That will be easier, but we'll have to see about that. But it's kept the odds good. You have had to write a paper application, send it in. So we'll have an update on this, later on when they solidify that.
Even with the applications, you could write a credit card check because they accept personal checks. And so sometimes guys can float their own fees on a 0% card using a credit card check. So there was a few little things to not have to pay or to actually have that money leave your account.
That's right. And the biggest thing to keep in mind on moose, sheep, and goat, they have a different point system. That it is not a preference like the deer, elk, and antelope where all of the tags go to the people with the maximum points. You have to first accumulate 3 base bonus points, and then every year after that, they give you what's called a weighted point, which, to simplify it, just gives you a mathematical advantage every year after that. So you can draw your 4th year in the draw for moose, sheep, or goat, and we've seen people do it. Their 4th year in the draw is your first real year that you could draw a tag.
Well, you're issued a random number, and then it's divided by how many weighted points you have.
Plus 1.
Get
That's
you
right.
Another new number.
That's right.
And so you can draw on your 3rd year.
That's right. When it comes to the deer, elk, and antelope, the elk, Colorado probably gives 75% of their elk tags over the counter. The remaining 25 roughly percent of the state that they draw tags in, there's a lot of demand for those because there's not a lot of units to spread out. The northeast corner, unit 210, 201, those units like that, 61 even, just seeing dramatic increases in what it's taking. And point creep just keeps going and going, 20 to 26 points. And if you don't have that many points or within a point or two of that, may not be worth ever chasing. So you just don't simply have enough people to spread out on elk. Deer is a totally different
situation. Well, going back to elk for a short minute, it's not good management practice as far as trophy quality to just issue tags over the counter. And when, like you said, 75% of the opportunity is issued over the counter, that leaves you a dozen units or 20 units. Or
that you burn points
that
for.
You can burn points for, and then you got thousands of people gaining points, and so it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Having said that, we've found a few units, and we've found a few units such as Unit 40.
Yeah, that's right.
Such as those units where we've done well, and we've seen some good bulls, and don't take 20 points, and so and even using 3rd season type tags, 4th season tags. Well, not hunting elk in the rut.
Just kind of come to the realization that I've got X number of points. I'm never going to draw this. What can I draw? Making it, picking it and going hunting. But talking about those 75% of the units, those can be tags that you can get any year you want. Come out on your own. You can use Colorado as the backup plan.
Yeah.
Get an elk tag, go archery elk hunting,
Draw a
rifle
deer
elk hunting.
tag, supplement it with an elk
Yeah.
tag, go hunt and have
Yeah.
2 species.
Get an outfitter and go hunt, or come do it on your own. So there's, depending on what end of the spec, if you're on the trophy end of the spectrum, Colorado would not be a state we'd really recommend starting for elk.
Right.
If you're an opportunity elk hunter, absolutely.
Go.
Should be one you should be looking at.
Every time we're hunting deer, no matter what unit it is, we're seeing
6
bulls that we
point
can
bulls.
hunt.
Yeah, you're seeing
And
6
we just
point
don't
bulls.
have tags in our pocket for that because we're not looking to just pack out elk meat
No.
when we're trying to kill a big
200-inch
buck,
deer in the rut
you know?
or something.
Yeah. So anyway, but there's quite an opportunity. When looking at deer back in 1996, I drew Pinyon Canyon. Back then, the Eastern Plains was like the only place you could kill a big deer in Colorado. It wasn't managed.
That was like Western was over the counter.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
so and then when they went to the draw system for every deer unit in the state, you saw some changes.
Dramatic difference when
It's
they started managing hunters on a unit by unit, season by season draw for that tag,
That's right.
or you don't go deer hunting.
That's right.
It got better quick.
And those rifle hunts, now they're offering rifle hunts basically 3rd and 4th season are rut hunts with a rifle. Only in the state of Colorado would get away with that and continue to maintain trophy quality simply because it's a deer
for
factory.
nearly 20 years
It's a
since
deer
they've done the draw.
factory.
Yeah, they've
There's
got
so many-
incredible genetics and habitat
and a lot
and
of escapement.
variety of terrain. You've got for deer, talked about early. If you have 1 to 2 points and you want to go hunt this year, there's a unit for you to draw in Colorado. It may not fit perfectly what you want. If you're a 195 only deer hunter,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to fit that. But if you're
Right.
like, hey, I just want to hunt $170, you should go to Colorado every year to 2 or 3.
Oh, my kids
Just
got
go.
leftover tags this
Yeah.
year. So if you draw your second choice, you get a leftover, still gain a point. You're prepping for the future while still hunting Colorado. So there's a lot of great opportunities. I know, John.
Personally, I love to draw Colorado every 3 to 5 years.
And you do it.
I won't hold those those points
And
or
you've
build them
hunted
up.
63. You've even
Yeah.
hunted 44. Like you've hunted
68, 44, 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're killing whacking
54.
deer,
Yeah.
And so what a great state to hunt in. It's absolutely a state every deer hunter should be either gaining points for or hunting.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of them may get to the 15 to 20 point range. If you're stuck or have built that many points and you're like, okay, now I want to use them, those are probably some of the units you should be looking at because you're going to have lower hunter numbers, maybe higher buck to doe ratios. But once you draw, we're highly in favor of going to Colorado as often as your schedule can allow. A lot of those hunts tend to be weather dependent, the late October, November hunts, to make them really good. You can build 15 to 20 points, say I got a 4-season tag here and go there and it lays an egg like last year, and it's 75, 80 degrees the whole hunt, and that wasn't worth it.
Well, and you used to be able to turn your tags back in early.
The day before the hunt.
Yeah, and now it changes everything. And so
30 days.
you
That's
have
it.
to 30 days you can turn your tags back, and who knows what the weather's going to be. And so a lot of it is just, banking on the dates. And now with the dates being later than average, last year was best, this year's still good. We're expecting and hoping for something good. If we get any kind of weather at all, big deer are going to hit the ground. You did remind me that when you were talking about that, Adam, about the 20 points and knowing when you're going to draw. I don't know if we covered it, but Colorado's one of those states. The guys with the most points win.
Yeah, they do have a hybrid draw that applies to certain units that take X number of points, but for non-resident purposes, ignore that because our 20% quota is going to be met in the maximum point
That's
draw.
right.
In those units. So any tags earmarked for hybrid draw are going to go for deer. This is for deer and elk. Are going to go to residents.
That's right. Well, they do the hybrid draw after the regular draw, and like you said, we're in the same draw with the residents. Although we have a separate allocation,
20%
and
or
we
35.
We draw our allocation before the residents in nearly every case. There's a few units that obviously, like some of those middle mountainous crazy country that actually residents have a few points and maybe do reach their allocation before we do. But generally speaking, we reach our allocation before residents, and once we reach our allocation,
Everything
we
goes to
cannot
residents.
draw in the hybrid.
That's right. The only difference is the antelope that they don't have the 20% to non-resident
That's
or
right.
35 to non-resident.
No.
It's just whoever draws antelope.
Whoever
tab
draws,
gets them.
draws. There is no non-resident quota for antelope,
So-
and that's why the hybrid works. For
Yeah, we've
antelope.
had a couple licensed app clients the last couple years draw hybrid antelope tags.
Yeah.
But that's the only instance we've heard of the non-residents drawing it because there's no non-resident quota.
Yep. So generally speaking, if they consider everybody's first choice before they go to anybody's second, so they'll look at all the first choices. If there's 2 applicants, one has 4 and one has 5, the guy with 5 will draw.
That's right.
So-
That's boiled down for deer, elk, and
So
antelope.
what, John? Do you have anything to add about Colorado?
Well, one of the things I love about us managing people's whole strategy is we can look at a guy and say, okay, he wants to kill a giant buck sometime in his life. And so we've got a long-term strategy for him to build points. Like me in Nevada. I'm not going to Nevada every 3 to 5 years. I'm building points in Nevada to hopefully draw really good tags sometime. But Colorado, no, that's a different story. I'm going to go as often as I can.
Why?
Well, because I don't want to skip too many years of not having a good tag and not having fun. And Colorado's just one of those states. You always have a chance.
Yeah, you do.
And
Well,
you could
that's
kill a
the
giant.
nice thing. You can
And
kill
so-
a giant on a 0-1, 2-point
We've
second
done it.
choice.
We've drawn it,
Yeah.
whether it
So
be-
that's what I want to do. But Nevada, I wanted, those tags just for me aren't going to come around every year. So
Well,
I'm
a lot
building
of it is
up.
they take all 5
Yeah.
choices. They only square them. I say only, meaning you don't know when you're going to get drawn. They square everybody's. 7, you have 7 points. You have 49 plus 1 this year's application.
50,
Now you
yeah.
got 58. 8 times 8 is what? 64 plus 1, 65. So, I mean, you just cannot tell. It seems awesome that they square them, but they square everybody's. I know a guy with 25 deer points, okay? He cannot draw, and he drew. And he
Muzzles.
applied muzzle as his first choice.
That's right.
Phil, what do you say? What do you say?
Oh.
It does work. It just sometimes it is realistically taking 15 points in Nevada to get good deer tags.
We might as well finish off Nevada where we're on it. When we're talking about deer and elk, there are average deer units. Not a lot of average elk. They're generally very high quality elk. You got a 7-year waiting period after you draw an elk
Yeah, they
tag.
changed that.
And so once you draw, my philosophy in Nevada is make it really good, because if it takes me 10 or 12 years, 15 to draw a tag, then I wait 7, that's 20 to 30 years in between elk tag. I just don't want an elk tag. There's other states like New Mexico with no points, or Idaho, or even Colorado or Wyoming.
Yeah.
I'd go hunt elk in that interim. I'm saving that one for something good because of that strategy.
That's
Deer doesn't
right.
have a waiting period.
That's right.
But I still tend to stick, and I know you do, Jason. You're the king over there. I stick to units I want to hunt. I don't want to go to the easy to draw areas in other parts of the state. I want to hunt, eastern Nevada, closer to Utah, closer to home.
right.
Units that
Well,
I
and
know
you
that.
can turn your tag back. Of course, you know that.
Yeah, that's right.
You've actually done it.
I've done it. You can draw your tag. You can turn it back. You do lose your deer permit fee or elk permit fee. Elk's a little steeper, $1,200
bucks.
Deer's $240, but you get
I
your
look at
points
everything
back.
in 4-wheelers. That's like what? A fourth of a fifth
Or,
of a 4-wheeler.
Or that's a 1991 Honda 4-Track. So I don't know, however you want to look at it. It is a full 4-wheeler if it's old enough.
That's right.
So-
So it does hurt a little bit, but the nice thing is you can get all those points back.
And one is if you didn't draw. And when you're packing 15 to 20 and all of a sudden you drew Nevada, the same year you drew an early rifle in Arizona
Yeah.
or a Utah, that are all upper echelon elk units,
Yes.
and they're
You
the
gotta
same
choose.
time, you can't make 2 of them work or
Right.
do them justice.
Right.
So
So
take
you
a hit.
could point guard it in Arizona, which we didn't talk about. You could point guard it and turn that tag back. You could turn it back in Nevada, and you could turn it back in Utah.
30,
And you can turn it back in Colorado, but you won't get this year's
That's
point.
right.
You're going to stay stagnant as if you didn't apply that year.
So that brings up a general philosophy. We do get the question sometimes from people who said, well, we're talking about applying for 6 or 8 states. What if I draw them all? And the answer is you're not. And part of that, you got to trust us.
The other answer is if you do,
Yeah.
you've got some options. You can
Yes.
turn some stuff back.
About half the states, roughly, will allow you to turn them back one way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. Get your points back, your money back, maybe both.
Yeah.
But especially some of those states where trophy quality is very high and you don't want 2 of the same in the same time, you've got options. Others you're stuck with. Wyoming, you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
Idaho.
Speaking of Wyoming.
Are we jumping?
We're jumping ahead.
All right. Well, I'm just so excited because the draw results came out today, and we had some good news. But, yeah, let's keep going on Nevada.
All right. So, Nevada has 3 species of sheep, but for non-residents, they can apply for desert sheep and California bighorn. And they give over last year 30 non-resident desert sheep tags.
That's
That's more than all the other states combined.
Yeah,
So,
it's unbelievable.
and they have extreme trophy units and just opportunity 140 to 150 rams.
Yep.
And so it's a must apply for desert sheep. It's a state where they charge $142 for a license. Then it's $15 to $20 per species. So if you're going to do Nevada at all, much like Arizona, don't just do, hey, I just want a desert sheep or I just want a mule deer.
Yeah.
For another minimal $20 to $40, you can add
Yeah.
2 to 3 more species, build the points. They have great antelope in Nevada. They, like you said, square your points. it's random after that. You get more names in the hat. Whoever gets it, gets it. Great trophy state. I would probably label it more as a trophy state than an opportunity state for sure.
There's no question. You know, Nevada has some of the most limited resource. It's an arid state, and it relies on water, and it doesn't have a lot of water.
That's right.
And it's got a lot of wild horses, you know. And so, but for the resource they have, it's amazing the quality they have.
Quality
it's
hunts.
unbelievable. Adam and I were looking through the trophy, you know, Boone and Crockett record book. They've got a trophy search query, which is awesome. Anybody that's out there, it's a great opportunity for you to log on. Costs $40 a year to be an associate member, but you can get on there, and when you do, you get on there and you notice what was killed. One unit, because you can tell by the county they're killed two bucks that were 193, 194 net typicals, and it came from one specific unit on a late season. It's pretty amazing, and there's not that many tags percentage-wise. Amazing what they're producing. And the elk did go through a cycle. I drew a late elk tag clear back in like year 2000 or 2001. It was right when I did the Arizona as well. Not the same year, but back-to-back years. And, you know, with those elk, it's amazing the quality. It was unbelievable then. They went through where they had a little bit of a lull, adjusted some seasons, the quality went down. Now the elk are back. It's unbelievable what the bulls that they're producing. And like you said, Adam, earlier in the podcast or the YouTube video, whatever you're looking at, watching, it's amazing quality, no matter if you're talking the 06s, the 07s, whatever unit you're talking about, it's great quality. Whereas like Arizona, or even Arizona, the king of elk states, has units in the 5s and 6s that are producing 300, 310 type bulls.
And occasional 350 to 70s. You have the wild card effect even in those units.
Yeah, even in those units. But Nevada, you're killing 330s in every unit.
There's not an average unit.
You shoot 330. You hold out for 330s in every single unit.
That's right.
You can't even do that here in Utah. I mean, the Okers,
That's
you
right.
know, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, one thing to point out probably about before we leave Nevada is if you're a mule deer hunter and you know you're going to go with a guide or an outfitter, they do have a outfitter restricted guide draw for rifle mule deer. It only applies to rifle mule deer.
Yep.
But it's an earlier draw, about a month earlier. You apply with an outfitter amongst only another pool of applicants with outfitter non-resident applicants, and your odds are generally better. If you know you're going to hire a guide when you draw a rifle deer hunt in Nevada, we recommend applying that. We can help you pick those outfitters. We can help pick your units that fit your criteria. If you're happy to shoot $170, you can draw almost every single year in Nevada for those type of units.
Yeah, we've got outfitters that are hunting the 1-4, Area 14, Area 15, which
16,
is 141,
17,
151, 16, 17, all those
Unit
areas.
6, early. I mean, you can hunt them literally almost every year if you do the early hunts and just have good quality deer hunts.
Keep in mind, these are rifle seasons only. And so there's a separate allocated number of tags for a separate drawing, and you can only apply in one or the other, the main draw or the outfitter draw for deer.
That's right.
And so if you apply in the outfitter draw, which occurs before the main draw, then that's your draw. You'll get a point, and it'll use your deer points even if the next year or the year prior you applied the main draw. All those points are good for whatever application period you choose to apply.
One year you want to sit out and do points only, you sit a year out and do points only, or if like, well, I don't really want a guided hunt this year, I'm just going to sit out and do the regular draw, the best unit in the state, you can do that. Just something to point out. And we incorporate that in a lot of our applicant strategy, because if they're guys that go guided on all their hunts, they should be doing that, much like New Mexico, which we'll get to in a minute. But I don't know. Where are we at to?
Well, I think it's worth reiterating in Nevada, if you're going to apply for one species, do them all.
Yeah,
even if you
so
hate
you don't have
antelope,
to front the fees.
you know,
you don't have to front the fees.
Yeah, and it's so cheap.
Yeah,
you should build points.
$200, $250, depending on what everything that you add, and some of the silver states, which are governor type opportunities. You're at $250 or less, $250 to $180, depending on the species you choose. And like you said, John, you're going to gain a point for every single species you apply for.
And the quality's so good. Even if you don't love antelope, you spend 20 years and you build those points just because it's cheap, you're going to have a great hunt.
$10 a year, build an antelope point, and then when you want to draw, you've got a pretty good antelope tag.